loving the ability to see people better than they are and watch them stepping to their greatness. I think that's what calls me in any pursuit that I do. Is this, is this opportunity, is this business, is this product, is this service making the world a better place? And am I helping people evolve and step into the best version of themselves, through that? And it might be hard. It might be difficult to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I got to overcome these things. Sometimes they say things get worse before they get better. That's one of the things I think we're facing right now. Don't you agree? So that's me in a nutshell. I'm excited to be on here and just kind of have a conversation with you and see what we can unfold with today's conversation.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be fun. And I like what you said right off the bat, because, for those of you guys out there that right now, everything seems negative in the world, like all the people around you seem negative, like it's just like that's the lens that you're seeing. It doesn't have to be that way. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you or wrong with the world or anything of that nature. All I'm saying is Silver pointed it out that you can decide that your reality will be different. And we'll get into that. But whether it's 2% or 1% or 0.5% or whatever it is, like those can be the people that you're starting to surround yourself with and the world that you involve yourself in. And even if somebody might not have been having like their best day, and then you show up on the scene and you've just decided, not that you're like jumping off the wall or like having to be like blissful or like crazy out of your mind, you can be now, but even if you just decide that you're gonna wake up and be, grateful to be alive, and if you're gonna go do your task, whatever you have to do during the day, that you're gonna brighten the room when you walk in and not like dim the room. You'll hold the door for someone, or just the simple things, like you can choose to do that when we're out in the world. All of us can, and the world will respond to you, and people will either want to join you in that energy, or if they aren't willing to, they won't want to be around you any more than you want to be around them. So I love that you pointed that out right off the bat, because it's so important. Like, we don't have to be victim to what seems to be going on in the world. Like, we get to choose how we want to experience this life.
Yeah. Noel, are you familiar with the concept of the reticular activating system?
Yeah.
The RAS. So
sure.
That was one of the first things that I learned in neuro-linguistic programming, which is kind of a non-traditional form of psychology that's out there. Was formed in the mid-'70s by patterning the way we communicate with ourselves and the way we communicate with others. There's this concept of a thing called reticular activating system, which I already know the concept, but this for the listeners, just to give them a little bit of knowledge on this thing, because it was such a mind-blowing thing for me, is that we take in hundreds of millions of bits of information around us, right? There's just tons of information. They say if the world was a dictionary, all day we go out there and we have a limited filter view of what actually happens. And it's that limited filter view deletes, distorts, and generalizes our reality to harmonize with our beliefs and our identity, right? So if I believe something that's happening in the world, right? Like, it may not be the same thing. Well, let me just put it this way. If you and I were in the same room, we said, look for the color red, right? You and I are probably most likely going to pick something that's completely different that's red, unless it's really apparent, right? And I've done this in the room, and I said, look, that's your reticular activating system, right? You are using your filter, your point of view. You're deleting, distorting, and generalizing your reality around you. You might even have picked something that's brownish red and said it was red just because you want to win, right? You're like, no, am I the winner? It's like, that's the winner mentality. And so, we go around all day deleting, distorting, and generalizing our reality to fit what harmonizes with our identity and what harmonizes with our thoughts. And so, do you have a belief generally that the world is good, or do you have a belief that the world is bad? Do you believe people are bad? We all have these beliefs, right? We've all heard the saying, growing up, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Things like that. It's like, what are these beliefs and metaphors that we hold inside that we go around all day lining up? And, they say, you've heard this before, 98% of the things that we think are things that we thought yesterday and the day before that and years to come. It's so crazy, man. And so it takes, a very conscious effort to, change beliefs. That's why I think what we got going on right now is just crazy. Hopefully there is enough in the world right now to create some change. You know, this is a real opportunity for some change. Is it going to be done the way that everybody wants? No. You know, is it going to be done? But, you know, we can all make a difference, you know, in our daily habits and how we see the world.
You inspired me to say 3 things that I'm going to share real quick. Like, so
yeah,
inspiring.
go for it.
So important, like what you just described for the audience when it comes to our 98% of our thoughts being habitual, like from yesterday. The cool thing about living in 2020 and beyond, because now we have science to go with things that, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago would have sounded like way out there, like woo-woo, or whatever you want to call it. But like, I've been to events where I've seen like energy measured in the moment, and on heart energy, brain energy, like all this stuff. But my point is, once we know that, and we start paying attention to what our habitual thoughts are, most importantly, because none of us have the ability to change anything if we're not aware of it. And so that changed my life, just starting to pay attention to being critical of myself, being critical of the world. That's 90% of it, man. Yeah. And then it's a choice, and then it's a practice, you know, from there. But also just as important, like when we start to notice, and not in a judgmental way, when we notice people around us that their 98% is one of wanting to look at the glass as half empty, or, you know, wanting to criticize or wanting to be negative, or that's not likely to change tomorrow unless they choose to actually be aware of it and they actually want to change it. And so you can audit the relationships that you have around you, because if you constantly have people flowing negative into you, and that's not going to change tomorrow or the next day or the next day, you might want to spend less time with them. And if you do choose to spend more time with them, I mean, it's going to just be more challenging for you. And so, you know, what I see right now, like in the world, and, you know, what we're seeing, and this is why I'm so positive about, people have been asking me like, Noel, how have you stayed like so positive throughout everything that's going on? I'm human. Like, I see the things that are happening, you know, in society and in my personal life, and just everything that may be uncomfortable for any of us to look at. But once I'm aware of like what's going on, now I get to ask myself, what is it that I would like to see in this area of life, or for humanity, or whatever it is. And I choose, and any of us can choose this, to focus my energy on that. And as long as we focus our intention and energy on that, we'll attract more people that also want to create that type of change. And here's what I know about life. Like, people are like, how is it going to change? Like, it just seems like there's so many people that are, you know, looking at the world this way, or blah, blah, blah. I've been using the example lately, Silver, and you could resonate with this, because I know that you were probably one that got a smartphone like really early on when they first came out. But a lot of people at the beginning were like, that's so stupid. Like, we don't need smartphones. Our phones, like, we had the flip phones, like they make texts, they make calls, all this stuff. Like, that's just silly. I was the dumb standing in line at 3 a.m. at Apple to get the iPhone. I was like, no, forget this. Like, this is going to be dope. And so my point is, now, you know, freaking 12 years later, or 15 years later, however long it's been, it would seem silly if somebody was like, I don't see the point of these smartphone things. Like, that just seems dumb. Like, you look at them like, the hell, where's this person been? Like, where are they living? And so it'll be like that way also for the changes that we want to see in the world, because more and more people will come together, like, or they're starting to now. And then it'll get to the point where if you choose to be racist or just like non-accepting, equality is not something that, you know, is in your worldview, you just be a weirdo. Like, people will be like, what is this person? Where maybe up to this point, it's been a little bit more like, it's okay to have your views, and if you're racist, you're racist, and if you're, I mean, it's just getting to the point where more people are going to be able to live, you know, and love each other and be equality and equal and unity and all this stuff.